Hello, and welcome back to the PNN. My name is Parvitab. Starting off from the idea espoused in our Monday inspiration videos of seizing the day and using our talents to our fullest, today we are talking about, drumroll please, the risks of playing it safe. Now, I know you guys might think this highly ironic, especially coming from a personal development channel, but we'll get into the specifics of it in a moment. So, let us begin. So, why we play it safe? So, by defining playing it safe, I mean being extremely risk averse. Now, I'm all for people properly weighing and getting all of the available information possible before making a decision. I don't believe in brashness whatsoever, but I do believe that there's a certain amount of risk involved in life, no matter what you do. And you can look at all the statistics, do all the research that you want, but at the end of the day, you're going to have to take that chance. And this is what I'm talking about. Taking a well-calculated risk that has tangible benefit for yourself, for your family, for your community, or for your business. That is what I mean by taking a risk. Not jumping out of a plane without a parachute, or jumping off the Eiffel Tower, or all of a sudden deciding to walk into the middle of traffic. Those are not risks. They are called suicide. And I think it's important to differentiate. It's important, and it's a smart choice, to stay away from things that are too risky to your physical health or your mental and emotional health. Say, drugs, alcohol, a person that you really don't care for, an emotionally tormenting family. Those are, approaching them or participating in them are risks that, if they are damaging to your health, physical, mental, or emotional well-being, you should avoid. But we're talking about the challenges, the everyday risks in life, like starting a business or working out. Because if you'll find that a lot of our decisions are made out of a fear of something. Typically, it's a fear of failure or a fear of rejection. And we find that because our brain scans, through research that has gone on longer than I've been alive, have shown that our brains are hardwired to overestimate risk and underestimate our ability to handle them. A survival mechanism left over from our Stone Age brethren, which makes our lives driven more by fear than by our own desires. Back at the Stone Ages, the risk of being ostracized from the tribe made it important to follow the established norms, because if you were ostracized from the tribe, you'd most likely starve to death. And no one wants to starve to death. So back in the Stone Ages, it was kind of important. But now, it's really a hindrance to our own advancement and evolution, rather than a desirable survival trait. And constantly playing it safe can lead to the maintenance of high levels of anxiety and the creation of safety behaviors which reinforce the anxiety. So we'll take an example from the magazine called Psychology Today, read by psychologists and general researchers like myself. And so here goes the example. Let's say that there's a girl named Mia, is afraid that others might reject her. Mind you, this is copied word for word from the Psychology Today article, and it doesn't represent any particular person or event. It's just merely an example provided to us by the psychologist at Psychology Today. So, Mia is afraid that others might reject her if they see that she has sweaty armpits. As a way of reducing the likelihood of this happening, Mia might choose to wear blazers on top of her shirts when attending social gatherings, even in warm weather. Though this might ensure that no one notices that her armpits are sweaty, Mia's decision to hide her armpits when around others prevents her from realizing that she would be able to tolerate social get-togethers, even if she were to ditch her blazer and wear a shirt with visible sweat marks on it. Instead, she likely leaves social encounters thinking that the only reason she did not get laughed at is because of the fact that her armpits were concealed. This leads to a constant fear and anxiety and inability to trust and establish deep, meaningful relationships. I know, a little sociology rant there, but it's important that, there's some risks in life that we have to take. Asking your boss for a raise, or asking that particular person you've been interested in romantically for a while out on a date. They all carry an inherent risk of rejection or humiliation, but you might find out that your boss was going to give you that raise anyway, or the person you had romantic intentions with, you have a lot in common with, and you actually both liked each other. So it goes to show you that, you know, most of us overestimate the risk of any inherently in any one decision that we make. So, continuing on, why we play it safe. Losses and rejections are inherently painful, and certainty, like those safety behaviors, makes us feel safe. It's why, if any of you have ever watched Adam Ruins Everything, and, and I advise you watch it, it's quite interesting. Adam Ruins airport security, and he talks about what they call security theater. It makes you feel safe by acting as if you are safe, as if the entire process actually serves a particular purpose. And while in terms of airport security, it is primarily theater, but is also an act of deterrence. Safety behaviors are not that. They're purely something that's to reassure you, but can have negative impacts on your ability to form social relationships and go outside your comfort zone. So, signs that you might be playing too safe. Feelings of boredom, feeling lazy and unmotivated, unwilling to learn, expand your horizons. You haven't tried something new in a while. Now, take a moment and think. Have you tried something new, say, in the past 6 months? And I know during the pandemic this might be difficult, but just take a moment and think. And if you can't think of anything major that you've tried new in the past 6 months, then I advise going out and trying something new. It can be anything: painting, writing, making bread. It can be anything, but it's important to always try something new at least once every couple of months. And then, yes, this is an actual one, not having enough fun. If you haven't had, a fun time with friends or on your own within the past couple of weeks, you should go out and try to do something fun. Because you may be playing it too safe, too close to the chest, and are missing out on wonderful experiences and opportunities, which if you had taken advantage of, might otherwise have enjoyed thoroughly. Now, don't get this confused with fear of missing out, which we'll probably do a video on as well. This is the opposite end of the spectrum, where you commit to everything over and over and over because you fear on missing out, and take more risks than is necessary because you fear on missing out on something. But that is probably going to be the subject of another video. So, why is playing it safe a risk? Well, research shows that people tend to be overly risk averse when weighing the potential success or failure of a decision. For various reasons, both individual and groups are often cautious at the expense of their long-term success. So basically, playing it safe creates a pattern in habits both in persons and in companies, which over time hinders your ability to evolve and develop as a person or a business, in the case of corporations, and hinders your ability at long-term success. Playing safe can lead to long-term stagnation and inability to achieve your goals on a personal, professional, or business level. History is strewn with businesses that played too conservatively and didn't adapt with the times, like Sears, and are now dead. Sears is actually a wonderful example in this case. They thought that the way they did business would always be the way they did business, and they were very slow in evolving to meet the demands, especially in the internet age, and switch from primarily in-store retail to online store retail. And as a result, sales dropped, poor business mismanagement because they kept doing the same thing that they always did, and it ended up bankrupt and going under. So you don't want to be a person who's like Sears. I think we all can agree on that much. So here are some of the risks you take when you play it safe from Neil Raymond. Yes, I know he's a motivational speaker, but I thought that they were quite appropriate, so I included them in this slideshow. 1. You won't know what you're capable of. 2. You won't turn your dreams into reality. I think that's the most important one. If you're not willing to take risks to achieve your dreams, then you're not willing to take risks for anything. Because your dreams, your goals should be the ultimate pursuit of your life. Whether that's having a family, starting a business, serving your country, it should be your ultimate goal. The end all be all, nothing's going to stop you. You shouldn't fear anything if it stands in the way of your dreams. third, you're more likely to have regrets at the end of your life. Now, many people are saying, oh, everyone has regrets. That is true. But you find most successful people, people who have built their lives out of, coming from humble backgrounds and stuff like that and built their lives into something, don't have as many regrets as, say, someone who played it safe all their life, say, a person who was dead last in his class, and I mean dead last, who, takes risks in starting a tire business, let's say, and he builds it into a multi-million dollar business, and he goes after, his high school sweetheart, and they get married and have a wonderful family life. And he takes the risk of, say, investing in Apple on the ground floor, and he makes millions of more dollars. And he takes the risk of bodybuilding, and he becomes this really healthy guy. So this slowly evolves. Meanwhile, you have the other story. You have the class valedictorian who seems he has everything going to him, but he plays it safe. He goes to the local university. He marries someone not that he truly loves, but is someone who is safe with. He doesn't need to worry about this person. And then he gets a 9 to 5 job, let's say at the post office. Not to slam the post office because they do wonderful work, but it's a rather mundane job. So he takes a job at the post office, and he works 9 to 5 for years and years and years. And he never takes the advantage. He never takes the moment to start his own business. He never goes out and pursues his dream of, sailing. He never really finds the person he was meant to be with, his true love, instead settling down with someone that was safe. And when these two men both die, the one who played it safe would most likely be the one with more regrets, because he didn't take advantage, seize the day, carpe diem. That's Latin for seize the day. So you can see the difference between the two individuals and how one took risks in his life and they paid off, and one who was unwilling to take those calculated risks and ended up losing his life before he died. He'd never truly lived. He just existed day in and day out. 4, you'll miss out on learning and new opportunities. This is vital, especially if you want to expand your career at a professional level. You always need to keep learning to future-proof yourself and always be looking for new opportunities on the horizon. And 5, you will struggle to make decisions. You'll be back and forth all the time. Yes, no, yes, no. I should do this. No, I should do this. I should do this. And it makes you really indecisive, and you miss out on more opportunities by being unable to make a decision. Even if you say yes or no to a particular thing, once you've made that decision, you can move on. Your brain power doesn't need to be wasted on anymore, and you can go on and learn new things, seek out new opportunities, etc. Because you've made the decision. It's done. It's over with. But for those people who vacillate back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, it leads to a lot of wasted energy and a lot of distraction in their lives, which leaves them often quite unfocused. And often, ironically, can be meshed nicely with fear of missing out. So that's where a little crossover between playing it too safe and then fear of missing out. So, how to take calculated risks. Like I said, it's important to take some risks in your life because you only live once. So, weigh the pros and the cons, write them down in order to be more objective about them, because if we list them just purely in our head, we often get unconsciously biased against one or the other, the pros or the cons. It's our cognitive bias. So writing it down, allowing you to view it objectively on paper in black and white, can often be far more make it easier for yourself in weighing them than if you're doing it just in your head. Research everything you intend to achieve. I would say if you set a goal for yourself, always research the best ways and tips on how to go about doing it. It's the best way to do it because you have some knowledge beforehand before you start going into it, so you don't go in completely blind and fumble all over yourself. But again, some people become obsessive from research. Oh, just a little more, just a few more facts, just a few more pieces of evidence, which is fine if you're writing an essay. eventually you're going to have to take action. There's no other way. So, research. I advise to research, but don't go overboard. Research enough so you have a general grasp of what you're doing, and then go out and do it, and then refine as you go along. Rationalize your reality. Basically, this is look at it objectively or from another person's point of view. Journaling and meditation are very good at helping you rationalize your reality and look at it from a dispassionate perspective, because often we get caught up in our own emotions and our own feelings, and we can be distracted by the opportunities that surround us, and we can feel overawed by the risk at stake. And as science has proven, we tend to overestimate the risks actually involved. Actually, I'll tell you a story. So I had a particular crush on this person, and I wanted to ask her to prom. Well, I was really, really afraid of her rejecting me. Now, looking back on it, it was an irrational belief. But back then, I thought there was this huge, huge risk. So I finally worked up the courage, and I took the risk after rationalizing. I'm like, taking a rational view of it. By journaling, I'm like, all right, what's the worst that could happen? I get rejected. That's it. Won't be the end of the world. So I took the risk, and she said yes, and I went to prom. So if I hadn't, I would have lived with the eternal torment of never knowing if she would have said yes or no. But I took the risk. She said yes, and that's history. So it just shows you how easy it is if you think about it and rationalize and look at yourself dispassionately. You can take well calculated risks and have them pay off for you in droves. Now, sometimes you're going to take a risk and you're going to fall flat on your face, but the important part is to get back up and continue trying, because eventually you will succeed. Question everything. Nothing is set in stone in life. If it isn't set in stone, which very few things are, it can be questioned, it can be evolved, it can be changed. We live in a time of great change, technologically, economically, socially, politically. So one more question is not going to upset the boat or overturn the turnip cart. And lastly, learn and move on. If you make a mistake, if you take a bad risk, and you fall flat on your face, learn from that experience and move on. If you succeed, equally, learn from the experience, recalibrate, and move on. Don't be too focused on past failures or results, because that can hinder you in being able to properly judge risks in the future. So, 4 risks you should take more often, as said by Forbes magazine. Risk outward conversations. Speak candidly. You never know where you can make a friend. Risk ignorance. Challenge assumptions. Ask questions. Find out if there's better ways of doing things more efficient, if there's something you can do to help. Risk rejection, flout conformity. You never know unless you ask. Risk imperfect decisions. Be decisive despite uncertainty. As the Army says, and even the Navy, a adequate plan now is better than a good plan later. Or, as the Army Ranger said, a bad plan executed well, executed now, is better than a good plan executed later. So it goes to show you the need to take risks, but also do we have a well-planned idea, or at least a general idea, before jumping into that risk. So, to round out this video, the bottom line: be smart and take logical, calculated risks with the possibility for real gain for yourself or your business community. Example, talking with your boss about your raise. Second, don't go overboard. Don't take obscene amounts of risk, or obscene amounts of risk that you're uncomfortable at the moment with. Over time, your ability to withstand risk will evolve, expand, and change. But don't go overboard. Don't push it. Like, for example, parachuting without a parachute. Embrace the uncomfortable and the awkward. This is where the growth takes place, not the comfort zone. Don't overthink things. Sometimes a fish is just a fish. This comes from a poem where a guy's talking about how English teachers, when reading poetry and Shakespeare, sometimes they will overthink it and assign a deeper meaning to something than what it actually is. Say, a fish, oh, the fish represents freedom or something like that, when in actuality the author just meant it as a fish. So it goes to show you not to think too hard or too deeply. If you get rejected saying, oh, not this time, I have a family function or something like that. Maybe it's true they have a family function. Maybe it isn't, but it's best not to run down that rabbit hole. And lastly, question and challenge everything. I think this is a mantra everyone should live by. And if you take one thing away from this video, which may or may not have turned into a rambling monologue, it is this: question and challenge everything. The world is in a constant state of change. The only thing constant is change. So if you want to improve yourself and improve your community around you, question and challenge everything and see what you can do better. What makes it more efficient? What does the most good? So that rounds out our episode for today. As always, my sources and further reading are listed here and will be listed in the description below. I hope you've enjoyed this video as I have enjoyed making it. If you like this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. And as always, this is the PNN Broadcast signing off.